What's up, guys? Welcome into the Big Friday Kickoff podcast. I'm Emily Cochran, your sports director, and this is my right-hand man, Robert Ristaneo. We are back, and it is quarterfinal time across the state this week. We walked into round 2 with 17 teams. 9 teams remain. That is one more than where we were at this point last season, which, Robert, I just think that's a huge accomplishment in itself.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, I think a lot of the teams that advanced were teams that we kind of thought would be here, you know, coming into the playoffs. And, you know, I think we had some performances in round 2, particularly from our 7-8 teams, that really kind of surprised us. You know, I mean, I think we thought we would at least have one of them survive, and they got completely swept off the board.
Yeah, those other teams from up in Montgomery, they handled our teams the business. Montgomery and Birmingham, for that matter. Before we just get into it, I do want to say congratulations to all of our teams on just an incredible season. Even those of our teams that did lose, just to even get to this point is such a big deal. In particular, I kind of want to talk about Theodore because I think they played such a good game last week. They lost that one 21-14, had a chance to win it in like the final seconds, got stuffed at the goal line. So just how can you imagine the emotions that are going through your head at that point? Like your season is on the line.
Yep.
I know their hearts were racing. Mine definitely was, trying to keep up with the score on Twitter. And they were just so close. So shout out to Theodore. That's one team that I kind of expected to see here in the quarterfinals, and we're not going to, so that makes me kind of sad.
Yeah, and, you know, I think one team, I guess, on the same hand that I would like to kind of give a shout out to is Cottage Hill, who lost last week.
That is another one.
That was a team in the preseason. If you're able to find it on our website, if you search Fox10TV.com preseason, I did a whole thing on Cottage Hill. I was really high on them coming into the year, and
for good reason.
Yeah, and they were great. They were great, and they really hung in there with Southside Selma, but just could not pull it out. So, yeah, shout out to Cottage Hill. They were one that I was hoping to see in this round, but unfortunately, they are not there. So. Good season, though. Very good season.
Definitely a good season. But we know this is the postseason, and it's survive in advance. You lose, you go home. So let's talk about all of our teams that did make it here to the quarterfinals. Let's start with our Big Friday kickoff game. You want to tell the folks where we're going this week?
Yes, we are going to Viger for their game with the Central Clay County Volunteers.
That was cute. Yeah, I'm super excited to go out to Pritchard this week. Every time we go out to Viger, we have a good time. I mean, the atmosphere out there on a Friday night is really unmatched. People really, really show up for Viger games. And this is a really tight-knit community, and I think it's going to be the same thing on Friday night when stepping into the quarterfinals here. Viger's a team that I'm pretty high on. You know, when you compare other teams across other regions, I just think that our 5A teams are just really, really talented, and they're competing against the best of the best all season long. So I think they're truly battle tested before they get to the playoffs, and I think that's why we've seen a lot of success from Viger, and Williamson's another one. Seeing them still here, two of our 9 teams that are still here in the quarterfinals. So. As far as Viger goes, they're the number 2 team in the state in 5A, and we know for majority of the season they were the number 1 team. They were at this point in the postseason last year. They made it all the way to the semifinals, but in week 9, I believe, was when they had to go up against Williamson, and they lost that game in overtime, 22-14. Williamson jumped into that number 1 spot, but I really think that didn't stop Viger at all. I mean, I think they responded. I think they answered. I think they've had a dominant performance here in the playoffs. Same thing for Williamson as well. But as far as Viger goes, a really good win last week in round 2. They beat Northside, a very talented Northside team. Got the win in that one, 49-28. That's huge. I mean, that's just we talked a lot about Northside and the talent that they have and how good they were going to be, and Viger seemed to put them away no problem, handled them, got that convincing win. Central Clay County beat Andalusia. That score was just 21-2. Mm-hmm. So I've got a lot of faith in Viger this week. I think they look good. They're 10-2 on the season. The Volunteers are 11-1. The only difference is the Volunteers, they're the 5A Region 4 champion. So, you know, Viger went head-to-head with Williamson. Williamson ended up becoming the region champion. So Viger is in this playoff as the number 2 seed. But they're playing like they're a number 1 seed with what we've seen so far. So, yeah, I feel really good about this matchup. I'm excited to go out there and catch up with head coach Renardo Jackson. We know this is his first year as the head coach. He came over from LaFleur and has pretty much picked up where Viger was last season and kept on rolling with it. I mean, they've done extremely well. You can talk more about the players, the weapons they have on offense and defense. I mean, a lot of big name guys that I feel like we're talking about every single week.
Yeah, no doubt. And we, like you said, we've talked about these guys every week. Dylan Jackson, Demetrius Johnson, Garrett Holcomb, Sammy Dunn at quarterback. Coming back from that injury from last season.
One of our Player of the Week candidates this season.
Yeah, and to me, looking at this Viger team right now, I think they have taken another step once we hit the postseason. And through 2 playoff games, Sammy Dunn's thrown for over 200 yards in both games, 8 total touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. They're running the ball well. They ran it for 6 yards a clip against Charles Henderson, 7 yards a clip against Northside. The offense is really starting to come together because throughout the season, it was never a question with their defense, right? Like, the defense is so talented and has all kinds of playmakers on that side of the ball. But it felt like their offense was still trying to work through some stuff during the year. And that is not the case anymore. I mean, they put up over 40 in these first 2 playoff games. So, but you're going against the legend, Danny Horn, right? The all-time,
the winningest coach in Alabama high school football
winningest
history.
Coach,
the only guy that's behind him is a very well-known guy down here, Terry Curtis, who just retired last season.
That's right.
So you got to know when you're going up, when you got a record that goes up against Terry Curtis, then you're someone to talk about.
Yes, no doubt. And so, you can never, like you said, it's very similar to Terry Curtis, where it's like you don't ever want to count that team out because that they can do stuff. So, yeah, I think the talent and the momentum is on Viger's side right now. But, Central Clay County only giving up 9 points total to get to Sipsey and Andalusia in their first 2-round games. So, I think this game will be interesting. I think both defenses are going to show up. I think it's just going to be kind of about which offense can kind of break through and put up points on the other team's defense.
Yeah, I feel really good about this one. I just saw this. I don't know if you knew, but there's supposed to be like a chance of rain on Friday is what I'm seeing. I saw some other teams from up north have had to move their games to Thursday. So we're going to have to keep checking in with Nick and just see.
Well, you need to make sure no one's moved their games to Thursday for us yet.
I don't see anything so far being moved. Maybe we'll be okay down here, but I see that Plainview and Good Hope got moved to Thursday, and then Addison at Marion County. So the weather's going to be something to keep an eye on Friday. If you're going to be out there watching these quarterfinal games, make sure you bring your rain jackets, all your rain gear. As far as I know, it's supposed to be warm. So it'll just be warm and wet. So good thing Viger has that beautiful turf. We've been out there before. I think this is their second year in that brand new stadium. And it's going to be a packed house. I have no doubt about it.
Yeah, no doubt. And speaking of 5A, just looking at the other side of the bracket, the 2 teams that we kind of thought would play again possibly in the playoffs still alive here, right? As Williamson takes on reigning state champ Montgomery Catholic. I think, you hear Montgomery Catholic and you think about the last few years and kind of how dominant they've been, and that is not this year's team. I mean, Montgomery Catholic comes in 8-4, and lost a lot from last year's roster. And Williamson is playing so well right now. I don't know. I kind of think the Lions roll in this one, but we're starting to get to the point in the playoffs to where you could legitimately lose to anybody right now. And so, I don't want to just chalk this up to a Williamson win, but I kind of have a feeling with the way they're playing right now, especially if weather becomes an issue. I mean, this team's ran the ball 35 times and 38 times in their first 2 playoff games. They can ground and pound you without even having to put the ball in Alvin Dinkins' hands, who will also go make plays. So I'll be curious to see how this one goes, just with the pedigree of Montgomery Catholic. But yeah, give me the Lions in that one.
I mean,
as well.
they beat Elmore County last week 42-14.
Yeah.
And they've, I mean, the week before that they beat Eufaula 50-14. So, I mean, that's the most that they've let teams score on them really this season. Like, the only other team that scored 14 points on them was Viger, and that makes sense because Viger is so good. But, I mean, just the amount of points that they're being able to put up and what they're being able to hold teams to. I mean, we've talked about it week in and week out when it comes to Williamson. This defense is one of the best defenses in the state across all classifications, not just in 5A. They've got talent all over the place on that defense. And they look so good. And I think we tried to get, some highlights from our sister station this past week as far as the Williamson game goes, and we did. But I mean, you can tell that they're trying to highlight their team, because that's what, when you're shooting highlights of a game, when you're in our position,
Sure.
like, no matter who wins and who loses, like, I mean, I had the same deal with McIntosh last week when they played Maplesville. All the touchdowns are being scored by Maplesville, and you got to shoot the highlights and you got to show the game as it's happening. But a lot of us are notorious for, you do everything you can to make your team look good, no matter how bad they lose.
Right.
And I think that's maybe what our sister station was trying to do with Elmore County. But I mean, you saw the final score in that one. I mean, 42-14. That in a playoff game, and we're getting deeper into the playoffs now. So in the early rounds, blowouts and things like that make sense to me, because you have a lot of number 1 seeds going head to head with number 4 seeds. And then you get into round 2 and games get a little closer. You're not seeing that with Williamson. They're continuing to blow these teams out. And I think this will be a bigger test for them this week, who they're going up against. But I still, on the same, the flip side of that coin, I could still see it being another blowout, because Williamson is just getting it done in every phase of the game. Offense, defense, special teams. I mean, they have all the pieces you need to go on and win a state title. I think they're on track right now to meet, if Viger takes care of business this week and Williamson takes care of business this week, we're going to see them match up against each other in the semifinals.
Who are you taking in that game?
Probably Williamson. I mean, I think it's going to be. I mean, we saw how it was in the regular season.
Yeah.
You go to overtime. It's a close one. Williamson wins that one 22-14 in overtime. I think Williamson has continued. This is the thing. Let me backtrack. I think Viger has continued to just get better and better each week. But at the same time, like, Williamson's not letting up. They're continuing to get better. So it's just like one of those things, like, can Viger catch up to the success that Williamson's having? Because as much as Viger's gotten better, like, so is Williamson. So you got to look at how they played each other during the regular season and then look at the run that they've had here in the playoffs. But like we said, it's the postseason and anything can happen. I mean, you're one win or one loss away from your season ending, and it can happen in seconds. We saw it happen with Theodore this past week. So, I mean, I don't know. Right now, I'm going with Williamson, but I could see, let's say both of these teams get through the quarterfinals. I mean, we got to get through the quarterfinals first.
Right,
but
right.
If I see them in the semifinals, I think I'm taking Williamson in that one. And I'm wondering who would host. Would Williamson host?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I need to look at the way the way the bracket breaks down.
Well, yes, because it would default to the higher seed, I think, in a head-to-head like that.
So Williamson would likely host.
Yeah, Williamson would host. I'm almost positive about that.
Big Friday kickoff location?
If we have it.
I think, well, that's true because it's on Black Friday, which is the day after Thanksgiving, and a lot of people aren't working that day. So we're going to do the very best that we can. That's the thing. Everybody else is celebrating holidays, and we're like, no, it's football season.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's laid back, chill time, fill your plate to the brim, but we're not even, like, worried about that.
Yeah, I guess, I think Williamson would host because they've traveled more at this point.
You know what I also wonder about that one is when, they've had to play some of their games at Ladd this season. Would they have that game at Ladd?
I would think so.
Do you think? Because of how big of a crowd it would bring and parking and how does that work as far as the AHSAA goes? Like, do you have to get permission from the AHSAA to move the location, and what goes into that? Because you also want that. That's another thing with me that I would get irritated about, whether I'm a Viger fan or a Williamson fan. Like, I want to play at my home stadium.
Yeah,
that's the whole point of home field advantage, which is even more crucial in a playoff game. You want it's just it. I don't know. I would hope that they would get to play at their each one's home stadium, but parking is going to be an issue.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's going to be, everyone will go out for that game. It doesn't matter if you're a Williamson or a Viger fan. I could imagine that a lot of people would go out just to see that game.
I think you would have to put it at Ladd just for capacity purposes and parking, logistics, all that stuff like you're talking about.
It's going to be like Clash of the Titans.
I'm picking Viger.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay, reasons?
I just think they're hotter right now. I think they're rounding into form, and I think it's hard to beat a really good team twice.
Okay, so we're split on that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we'll have to see what happens.
Yep.
You also said that the Saraland Spain Park game wasn't even going to be close last
I
week,
did.
and then there was a point where Spain Park was up over Saraland.
I sure did. That's right.
We're not. That's why we don't have like doctor in front of our name. We're not.
No.
We're definitely not experts. We just we think we know what we're talking about sometimes.
Speaking of Saraland, they're playing a familiar opponent this week, Pike Road. Our only 6A team remaining. They're our highest classification team left, Saraland.
Yeah, since all of our 7A teams got knocked out.
Played Pike Road the last 2 years and beat them, I believe, a combined 93-19.
Wow.
So I don't know. Pike Road in their first two games this year, first two playoff games, I should say, this year, beat McGill, one of our local teams here, 28-10, and then beat Bessemer City 28-6. And Saraland has put up 49 and 35. Given up some points. I think they gave up a little more to Wetumpka than people thought they would. And Spain Park, like you mentioned, I mean, that was kind of a classic playoff game.
35-31.
Yeah.
I mean, Saraland got it done in the end, but I mean, I feel like I was even wrong. I mean, I kind of thought, this is the thing with Saraland that kills me, is every time I'm like, oh no, it's going to be a close game. Like, this could be a close game. And then every time I've said that, they walk out on the field and they blow the opponent out. And then we get to this week, and I was kind of with you in the fact that I was like, well, I think it's going to be a good game, but I think that Saraland, I could see it being like a 2-score game. And then Saraland wins it 35-31, and they were down at one point.
Right.
And so I was getting a little nervous. I was like, okay, well, should I even have my title of sports director? But, I mean, I do still think that Saraland is an extremely talented team, but I think maybe that we underestimated Spain Park a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to take anything away from Saraland and what they're doing. I think they just went up against a really good opponent. In the end, it's about how you finish. They got the win. Doesn't matter how close or far apart the score was. It's Saraland here in the next round and not Spain Park.
That's right.
They are going head-to-head with Pike Road. We're going to get our highlights from our sister station up in Montgomery, WSFA. Shout out to them. We're all going to be trading highlights this week. Just a big week of high school football. I mean, this is I think this one actually will be, I'm going to say this one, I will think this one will be a good matchup.
I think it will too. You look at Pike Road on the year, their only losses are to Enterprise and Opelika, both 7A teams, and they lost to Opelika by 2 and Enterprise by a touchdown. So this is a team that's kind of rolled for most of the year.
And they've got the home field advantage. Saraland has not had to go on the road here in the playoffs yet. They've hosted in the first 2 rounds. So this is a road game.
And like I mentioned a second ago, Pike Road's going to have so much motivation from having lost to Saraland the last 2 years in the semifinals both times.
Not even close.
Not even close.
I mean, 47-12 last year.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
So, Pike Road's going to be fired up for this one, but I also think there's going to be a part of Saraland and Jeff Kelly that are going to use how close last week was and how some people were like, oh, I don't know, Saraland, ooh, I don't know, that game was kind of close, and psych his team up to thinking that people think they're not as good as they are, which is not true. I mean, we know how good Saraland was. I think last week said more about Spain Park than it did Saraland.
I'd have to say I agree with you on that one, just because, like, any time you doubt Saraland
at Spartan Stadium,
they show you why you shouldn't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that, like you said, I think it just goes to show that Spain Park's maybe a little better than we gave them credit for. We said it was going to be a quarterback battle.
Right.
They had a very talented quarterback.
Yep.
I don't know as much about like Pike Road's offense and who's in charge of running that offense as far as the quarterback goes. You'd have to look that one up for me.
Yeah, but it just. I think Saraland ultimately pulls this game out, but this is definitely going to be a dogfight for them against a very good Pike Road team from Region 2 up there. Let's see who Pike Road is led by. Oh, yeah, Gunnar Gibbs at quarterback. I remember this name, 1,600 yards, 18 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
Committed anywhere?
I do not know. He is just a sophomore, so.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, at least, Jameson Roberts has the leg up as far as
Yep.
seniority goes.
Got a lot of guys that run the ball. I think that this is going to be. I think this is going to be another high-scoring game for Saraland. I would not be shocked if this game gets into the
40s.
Possibly could be. I mean, here's the other thing though: is that Pike Road can run the ball, and just looking at their last 4 games, they've ran it 47 times, 34 times, 29 times, 37 times. Only thrown the ball 7 times, 12 times, 13 times, and 21 times in those games.
So they're going to be leaning on that run
They're
game.
going to try and probably control the ball and keep it out of Saraland's hands, which the last team, in my mind, that really tried to do that was Theodore, and that didn't work out. So you're going to have to, I think, do what Spain Park did, which is just keep pace with the Saraland offense, as opposed to trying to just milk the clock and slow them down. So be a little bit of a battle of styles here, but I think I'm still probably leaning Saraland in this one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to me, unless it's just blatantly obvious, I'm not going to pick against any of our Region 1 teams. I think that, speaking of the teams that are left,
right,
I feel really, really confident in everyone that we still have on the board as we head into the quarterfinals here. Like, I wouldn't pick against any one of them. Now, we do have a matchup that is 2 Region 1 teams
Stole my segue.
Was
about what I was about to do.
But that's what I mean is, like, we're talking about all of these teams and we don't have to pick against them. Well, this week we're going to have to...
You're going to have to pick against one of them.
We're going to have to pick against one of them because in 4A, we have Jackson going head-to-head with WS Neal. Jackson is hosting this matchup. I think it is important to note, I don't know if I said this at the beginning of the podcast, but we have 3 4A Region 1 teams left here as we go into the quarterfinals, which I think is awesome. Like, that is huge. And, I kind of had a feeling that we knew St. Michael was still going to be here. I had a feeling Jackson was still going to be here. Like, I never had a question mark next to either 2 of those teams. But if you would have told me WS Neal was still going to be in this one, I would have been like, what? Okay.
Not this guy.
You've been high on them all season, and understandably so. WS Neal, they beat American Christian last week 35-7. Yep. And to me, like I said, once you get to this point in the playoffs and you've got big wins like that, like, dang, you're that good of a team, So I think that was a big win for them. Jackson beat handily 42-28. So yeah, I think this is going to be a good matchup this week. When they both met in the regular season, Jackson got the win in that one. Can you give me a final score?
30-7.
30-7. So it wasn't like
not the biggest,
big crazy. Yeah. Yeah, WS Neal just needs to be able to get some things going on offense to keep up with this Jackson offense. We know Jackson led by quarterback Landon Duckworth, committed to South Carolina. You got E.J. Crowell, like one of the best players in the state at running back. Is just I've said it before. That is a grown man playing with high school kids. And I expect them to heavily lean on E.J. Crowell this week for sure. I think he's just going to run it up the gut and put up points like he does every single week. So,
right.
I mean, there's been some games this season when E.J. Crowell's just put the team on his back and said, get out of my way, guys, I got it. Just hand me the ball. So I think that's something that WS Neal's defense is going to have to be prepared for.
That's right.
You're high on WS Neal. Go ahead.
Listen, my fighting Eagles out there, all right?
Did we ever find out if they're the Eagles or the Blue Eagles? No.
My fighting Blue Eagles. Remember how the last game went against Jackson, okay? and use that as your motivation. Let me tell you a little something about this last game against Jackson, okay?
Tell me something.
Okay.
Tell me something good.
We talk about E.J. Crowell all the time, right? And how they try not to lean on him. They he will have like 10 carries and you'll be like, what are we doing? And it's like, well, you're saving him for big games.
This is a big game.
He carried the ball 20 times or more twice this season. Once was against St. Michael and once was against W.S. Neal.
Tells you they needed him.
And W.S. Neal held him to one of his lower yardage totals for the year and the lowest yards per carry that he ran for all season. W.S. Neal's defense is physical and athletic and can compete in the run game against E.J. Crowell. The only thing I worry about is if they hand it to him 30 times to win this game, because that to me is where the difference is going to be made. You know, their next two opponents, assuming St. Michael wins, are the two games where they have relied on EJ the most and lost against St. Michael and beat W.S. Neal. If W.S. Neal can defend the run about as well as they did against him the first time, which was 144 yards and 6.5 yards a carry, which is about as well as you're going to do against somebody as talented as E.J. Crowell.
Yeah.
They've got a shot in this one. They need to be able to generate offense, and that's the only thing I'm concerned about. In that very first game, you hold Jackson to 30 points. That's good enough to beat them if your offense is playing well. Mm-hmm. They're just going to have to score more than 7 points like they did last time. And
it's going to take more than a touchdown to get this job done, guys.
And that Jackson defense is very good. A lot of that is credit to them. But W.S. Neal, they got something special going right now. And not saying I'm picking them, but they're my surprise maybe pick of the week.
They're like the underdog that you're rooting for to win. Like that is the team that you really have been high on all season.
And I like Jackson. I love Jackson.
No, we love Jackson.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate because we love them both so much. Like I hate when they have to play one another. Like I would love for them to be playing other people from like Montgomery, Birmingham, whatever. So we don't have to pick. We don't have to, because it's kind of a. We win either way, but we also lose either way because we're losing a team in Region 1 that doesn't get to advance to the next round.
One thing is for sure, we're guaranteed a team in the next round in 4A.
Which will likely be, because we can go ahead and talk about this, our other team in 4A that's playing this week. I'm stealing your segues this week. I'm so sorry.
You're really...
You're usually the segue guy, but
you're learning from the best over here, know?
Oh, okay. Here we go. Take a seat, buddy. Take a seat. Okay, yes. So St. Michael, our other team in 4A, playing this week. They're going head-to-head with Bullitt County, the same team that knocked out Mobile Christian last week, 21-0.
Yep.
St. Michael, an absolute dominant performance against Pleasant Grove. 41-7. You really and you did that. That's the same team that they met in the same round the season before. And when I talked to Phillip Rivers, he was like, that's something they're not going to forget. Well, St. Michael didn't forget it either. They're like, okay, we beat you once. We can do it again.
Yep.
And they absolutely did it. Big night for them. But that's what I mean. Like we were just talking about, it could be, I think St. Michael is going to win this game this week against Bullitt County. I think that they've been handling business all season long. They've been handling business in the playoffs. I think they're going to win this game. There's really no doubt in my mind for this one. Now, that would mean that they will meet they're either going to meet W.S. Neal or Jackson. So it could either be a repeat of last season because Jackson and St. Michael met in the semifinals. It could be a repeat of that. Or, W.S. Neal could sneak up, the underdog story, get the win, get an upset, and then they get to meet St. Michael in this round. And I think if St. Michael wins, they should get to host, regardless if it's Jackson or St. Michael, because they're the higher seed. They'll get to host in the semifinals.
Yes, I think so. But I forgot that once you get to these rounds right here, it depends on who's traveled most in the previous rounds. So if you look at St. Michael...
Well, we went out there.
They were home week 1.
Week 1, traveled week 2.
Home this week.
They're home this week.
Jackson traveled last week.
They were home this week.
So Jackson and St. Michael would depend on the distance that each of them had to travel that one week. I think WS Neal would absolutely host if they got to the next round.
Okay.
Because they've only been home once.
Okay. Interesting.
The other two teams have been home twice.
Okay. So yeah, it could get interesting right there in 4A between Jackson, St. Michael, WS Neal, who's going to be playing who. I mean,
it's most likely going to be St. Michael and Jackson.
I mean, yes, but it would also be cool if it was St. Michael and WS Neal.
Yeah,
and then something crazy could happen and St. Michael could lose. I don't see it happening.
No,
but it's the postseason.
Yes.
Like, it's just, you never know what's going to happen. It really is all about who shows up to play that day.
St. Michael, one of the hottest teams in the state. Bullitt County, they're a great story. We don't tend to cover the entire state as much. You know, I mean, we focus on our Region 1 teams just because that is a load in and of itself, you know, having to keep up with those teams. I mean, shout out to the podcasts out there that cover the entire state, y'all. That is a ton of work.
Yeah, y'all are like magicians.
Yeah.
I don't know how y'all
But Bullitt County is like one of the Cinderellas this season. This is their third playoff appearance all time. This is the first time they've ever won a playoff game. So the pedigree is on St. Michael's side. The experience is on St. Michael's side. And the momentum, really. I mean, their offense looks unstoppable. And
when had St. Michael won a playoff game before last season?
Because
I mean, I feel like St. Michael kind of went from being like, they're still a relatively new program. The school is still relatively new, so. I mean, still what they've done in a short amount of time.
Yeah, I guess last year was the first time they had won a playoff game. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, if you're looking at it, I mean, your head coach is Phillip Rivers, your quarterback's Gunnar Rivers. You've won all these games.
Noah
You're having
Moss.
Noah Moss, Brody Jones, Tucker Tomlinson. Brody also has really been getting it done on defense as well the past couple of weeks. So shout out to Brody Jones. But I mean, I know, yes, it's a beautiful, Bullitt County Cinderella story. Love it for them. But I still think that like what St. Michael has done is really special.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
The growth that they've had. Maybe they're not as much Cinderella. Maybe they're not an underdog.
No.
They're just a team that's grown really fast.
It's just a program that's been on the rise, and they, that's where they're at now. So
they're not it's not the underdog story for them anymore. But I still think it's cool they're still making history.
Sure,
it's still a historic season. It's a season with a lot of firsts. So, yeah, I mean, I feel good about St. Michael. It's the W.S. Neal Jackson game that I'm still torn on who exactly I think could win and who I would pick.
So instead of, since I think W.S. Neal has like a little shot this week against Jackson, instead of saying who do you think would win next week, just who do you think on this side of the bracket is going to the state championship game?
St. Michael.
Okay, I agree.
I really do. I mean,
I do too.
And I love Jackson, but I just think that the way I'm looking at St. Michael this season, watching them play, seeing the highlights, looking at it on paper, they look the way Jackson did last season.
Yeah.
To me, because last season I was in the same point. I was like, "Yep, Jackson's going to go. They're going to win it all." And then our Player of the Year came out of Jackson. I mean, Landon Duckworth had a heck of a season last season, and I think that's. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like I just don't think Landon has had the same season this season that he had last season.
No. He hasn't been as explosive,
But he's also, I feel like some of his weapons have been hurt in and out, and his whole offensive line has been hurt.
And they've been. It feels like, I mean, when you look at some of their point totals, like it doesn't necessarily suggest this, but their offense has felt like in certain games and at certain times to be on a little bit of cruise control.
They've had to fight harder for these wins.
Yes,
it hasn't been like they just walk into the stadium and you're like, oh yeah, no, Jackson's going to blow them out. It hasn't been like that. Some of these games this season have been closer.
Yeah, but like, last year once they hit the playoffs, it was 50 plus almost every single game, and then nearly 70 in the state championship game.
Yeah, didn't they put up, what was the final score?
69 to I just had it pulled up here.
Wasn't it like a record? That was like a record for points scored in a championship game. So
yeah, and they scored over 50 points several times last year. This season they haven't cracked 50 points once, and they've really only cracked 40 a handful of times. So the offense is not as explosive as it was last year.
Yeah. I don't want to take anything away from them. Obviously, they're winning. It's just like, if you look at it by the numbers, it's two very different teams, in my opinion.
Right. That's right.
And St. Michael, on the flip side, is just new and improved. They were great last year, and then this year they're just a powerhouse.
Yeah.
I'm looking at St. Michael in 4A the way we talked about when I first got here, the way everyone was looking at Saraland in 6A.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
It's very similar. And, great quarterback play, kind of all the way around, for both those teams also. So, yeah. So that's 4A. Why don't we take a look at our 1-3A team remaining? I think we both have pretty high expectations for this team. We're talking, of course, about Bayside, who will be taking on Montgomery Academy this week. Bayside coming off a big win against Randolph County, 47-7, following their win against Houston Academy, 46-7. Bayside's just hot right now, and this defense is locked in, and this offense, I mean, they're explosive. Like this is a legit state title contender in 3A.
I 100% could see Bayside Academy winning the 3A state title.
Yeah.
I 100% could. I mean, they're 11-1. Their only loss was at the beginning of the season to St. Michael. But I just think this is a completely different Bayside team than what they were when they opened up the season. They have just steadily grown.
I'm not sure Davis Barnett started in that game against St. Michael. I don't believe he did.
Well, because there was a point. I'm pretty sure I was talking.
Yeah, he did. And it was Bo Miller.
I'm pretty sure I was talking in this podcast, and I was like, "Yeah, Bo Miller," and you're like, "Oh no, it's Davis Barnett is starting now."
Yeah.
Like it was such like a quick switch, like that I didn't even notice it. But like, no shade to Bo Miller, he's still obviously playing and doing well on the field. But like since Davis Barnett has taken control of this offense, it's been all gas, no brakes. I mean, you haven't been able to stop him. And you know what's so funny about him? Because he was one of our Player of the Week kids earlier in the season. He's so quiet and so just docile, and not would you. But you know what? It's almost like that. This is going to be a weird comparison, but I'm reading a book right now, and the main character is an assassin. So when she gets ready, when she's going into battle or getting ready to kill, she when she talks about when she's getting ready or when she's in, it's almost like this. Quiet rage or the quiet killing mode or something like that, and I feel like that reminds me of Davis Barnett, because like when he's not the loud, like in your face, like rah kid, but he's going into that quiet killing mode, because when he's on, I mean, he is an assassin with the football, and he's not the flashy kid. He's just quiet, cool, calm, collected, very like Joe Burrow. And
sure.
They what they always said is that Joe Burrow had the personality that he was either going to be like a star athlete or a serial killer.
Yeah.
So I just find like that comparison is what it makes me think of, because he is just so calm under pressure, and I think there's no better time to have a leader like that than, of course, when you're in these big games in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And lucky for them, they haven't been in any close ones that have been down to the wire, no barn burners or anything like that. But when you're stepping into it, and you're stepping onto the field, it really is about how you start. Because these are high school kids.
Yep.
They've got nerves. You're stressed, but you're not seeing that out of Davis Barnett. He's stepping onto the field, and he's like, all right, yeah, another night, let's go. When
you started that sentence and started saying, I'm reading this book, I was real worried about where this was going to go, because you read some weird books.
No,
okay?
I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. I literally. So I just got back. I did quick. I'm not going to like weird people out with my. I just got back into reading. Me and one of our directors, Genevieve, we read the same books and we talk about it. It's like our own girls like book club, and but it's like warriors and there's fighting going on. Like I like stuff like, I'm a really big action movie person, and I mean I think that makes sense because I've been a former college athlete, and I like the action of like going head to head with someone, and so like I like the whole action of these people fighting and going head to head with someone. Like it makes me want to go take self defense classes and like learn how to be like some sort of assassin or something.
Okay.
Like it's just cool. Anyway, so yes, that is my book preference, but it really does make me think about like our football teams are also going into battle. They're having to go up against opponents. You got to prepare for the enemy. Like those are like the books that I'm reading. Because my life always goes back to football.
Yep.
It always ties into football in some way. I correlate everything to sports and a coach and a player and a GM. Like that's just how I am. It doesn't matter what I'm reading or what I'm doing. It always comes back to sports in some
That's
way.
true. And it was a good analogy too.
Thank you. I thought like it was a pretty good analogy too. Thank you very much.
Do you want to know a little bit about Montgomery Academy?
Let me know about Montgomery
Okay.
Academy. I'm sure they're tired of hearing about my books.
So they won their first 2 games, beat Flomaton 42-0, and then beat Lee Scott Academy 38-0.
Yes.
And that's just their first 2 games. They
Do I need to worry about Montgomery Academy this week? Is that what you're
a
telling me?
little bit. Here's something to keep in mind. All right, so we talk about Davis Barnett's great sophomore quarterback putting up all these big numbers. Montgomery Academy has their own kind of Davis Barnett. Okay,
Is this going to be a QB battle?
This is going to be a little bit of
I love a QB battle.
Reed McBride, sophomore,
Okay.
thrown for 2,300 yards, ran for 577.
Oh, he's a dual threat.
Has 35 total touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
Oh, great. So,
So-
he's disciplined. He doesn't
Yeah.
turn the ball over. He's a dual threat.
They got
Lord.
a sophomore running back, Ali Nelson, 100 carries, 900 yards, 11 touchdowns. So they've got some dudes, but I will say these first 2 games, they have been very, very run heavy. They haven't passed for more than 200 yards. Ran the ball 27 times against Flomaton, 32 times against Lee Scott Academy. Last week, Bayside played Mo Winston, the leading rusher in the state, held him to 11 yards on 10 carries, I think.
Bayside can stop the run.
They can stop
They've
the
got
run.
a good defense. I mean, Billy Neal,
Monroe Parton.
like they've got
Yeah.
these names of these guys. We talk about them every single week. I feel really confident. It's just as much as I feel confident in that offense led by Davis Barnett, I feel even more confident
too.
in that Bayside
I do
defense.
too.
That is a dang good Admiral defense.
So it's going to be up to this McBride kid being able to beat them through the air, and give me Davis Barnett in that matchup any day of the week, and give me the Bayside defense against a sophomore quarterback that hasn't really been throwing the ball a ton lately in these first 2 playoff games. So
Yeah, you got Davis Barnett and the Killing Calm. That's what it's called.
Killing Calm.
The
Okay.
Killing Calm. So Davis, if you listen to this, or Bayside folks, just know when he steps onto that field on Friday, he's got that killing calm and he gets it done.
Okay.
And I love to see it.
The Killing Calm.
The Killing Calm. That's what it's called in the book. I couldn't think of it for a second, and I've been sitting here racking my brain. That's what it's called. So, yeah, I mean, I feel good about the Admirals. If I had to pick right now, yeah, I'm definitely picking Bayside to win this one.
Yeah.
Don't embarrass me, guys.
Yeah, right.
Please.
Okay, so let's shoot on down to 1A here. Our last 2 games this week. I guess we could start with Leroy, our player of the week. Came from their most recent win, correct?
Yep, sure did. Jace Sellers. He had 4 touchdowns just in the first half.
Ooh.
So they got a really big win this past week. I think it was 40-22 was the final in that one. But they're going head-to-head with McKenzie this week. And we've talked about this before on the podcast, I believe, but we went out to Leroy a few weeks back when they played Milry, and I was talking to Chan Lowe, and I asked him, I was like, who were the teams that I told him, I said, I think y'all are going to win the state title. Like, y'all look like the team, back from 2023 was the last time they won it.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, the 2022 and 2023 because they went back to back, but the way that they look this season is how I feel like they looked that season. Like, I just feel really confident in what they can do. They look poised to win another state title. And when I said that to him, he's like, I mean, I feel that way too, but if we meet McKenzie, they're going to be a problem. That's going to be a really, really good team. And not just McKenzie, Maplesville, because we also talked about that last week because Maplesville beat McIntosh, and I was out there shooting highlights of that one. That was tough. So there are some potential roadblocks on your way to the Blue Map Trophy. Leroy's going to go up against probably their most difficult test of the season so far when they go head-to-head with McKenzie. I feel good about Davis Barnett. He's only a sophomore. Did you know that? Not Davis Barnett. I'm sorry. Jace Sellers.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay.
We just talked so much about Davis that's what I've got in the brain. Jace, our reigning player of the week. Like I said, he is a sophomore, but he's a Leroy guy through and through. I did not know this. When I caught up with Chan earlier this week, he talked about both of his brothers have played there, and he had an uncle that played there. His dad played there. So he knows what it takes to be successful because this Leroy program has been successful for a long time. And he's not just getting it at practice from coach or any this coaching staff. He's getting it at home, too. You know he's getting it. So, yeah, I just shout out to Jace for being our player of the week this week. I feel really good about, what he's been able to do. He's another kid that's very, quiet and calm and very chill and laid back. Maybe that's the recipe for success when it comes to these quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I don't know. I report, y'all decide. But,
Right.
But, yeah, I really enjoyed going up to Leroy this week and presenting player of the week up there. Always have a blast when we go up there. I'm really, really, really pulling for the Leroy Bears. I also love Chandlo and that coaching staff and that community. So, I know how difficult of a test it's going to be this week against McKenzie, but, I have all the faith in the world in the Bears, and I really, really hope they win. But you know a lot about McKenzie, so.
I know a little bit about McKenzie, okay? I know that they've got Quay Jackson. He is a senior quarterback. Thrown for 1,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's ran for 957 yards and 16 touchdowns, so almost 1,000 yards apiece. They got a running back, Aiden Wilsey, who's ran for over 1,500 yards and 25 touchdowns. Those are going to be the two guys on this offense that Leroy's going to have to worry about. And they're probably going to have to be able to throw the ball in this game. It's going to be another big Jace Sellers game.
Which he can do.
Yeah.
And he's got a beautiful deep ball.
Yeah.
I was looking at it on the highlights this past week. Some of the throws he was making, I was like, oh, my goodness. They're just beautiful. They're just right on the money. He just floats it up just perfectly. I mean, his receivers are making the catches. Obviously, they're on the other end having to make that play as well. But the placement of it, I mean, it's almost like a sports movie in slow motion that when you're watching these plays that he makes, it's just he looks really good, and I feel good about it. But like you said, I know how difficult McKenzie's going to be.
Yeah, now, I know you mentioned Chan told you something today that we wanted to play here on the podcast, right?
Yes, I do have some sound from head coach Chan Lowe. I just wanted him to give me a quick preview of this matchup. Like I said, we talked about McKenzie earlier in the season. We talked about him again this week. So he gives us just a quick preview and kind of what the keys are going to be to winning this game on Friday night. So let's hear what Leroy head coach Chan Lowe had to say.
This is probably one of the toughest teams we've played all year. McKenzie's very talented. They put up a lot of points. They're not giving up a lot of points. And we got to take our first road trip since week 7. So that's another logistical deal we have to deal with this week that we haven't had to deal with. And, our kids at this point in time, I mean, they're used to it. They've been part of this tradition for a while. They've played in some big games. But, this will be the first time I feel like we've really been tested since about week 7. And we're going to have to play our best night to come out 1-0 at the end of the week. So we'll just see how it goes.
That was Leroy Bears head coach Chan Lowe. Coach, good luck this week. We're pulling for you guys. I really hope y'all get this win. I know it's going to be a tough matchup against McKenzie, but like I said, got all the faith in the world in those Leroy Bears. They haven't had to go on the road, so this is definitely going to be a test for them, not just with a very difficult opponent, but having to do it on the road in McKenzie's house.
Yep.
So, yeah, they're going to have their hands full. Definitely rooting for you guys this week. We will have the highlights from that game. WSFA up in Montgomery is going to help us out with that one. So, yeah, shout out to our Bears. Looking forward to that matchup. Now we have another 1A game, definitely to keep an eye on. Southern Choctaw at Maplesville. Now I got to see Maplesville play for myself last week against McIntosh because that's where we went for Big Friday Kickoff. And Something that was interesting about this game to me is McIntosh held Maplesville scoreless through the first quarter. That's the first time all season long that Maplesville has not scored in the first quarter. So if Southern Choctaw can mirror what McIntosh did in the first quarter and pull that out throughout the entire game, I think they'll have a good shot. Now, there's a kid on Maplesville's team. He's number 4. He's their running back. I'm sure he plays on both sides of the ball because these 1A schools, they typically, I mean, not just 1A, but the smaller schools typically have a lot of guys that play on both sides.
McCary?
McCary, yes. So good. I mean, it's taken like 6 kids to tackle him and bring him down.
Oh, was he the big one?
Yes, number 4.
That's a big boy right there.
I'm pretty sure he scored 3 touchdowns while I was there. I'm almost positive. In the first half, he scored 3 touchdowns. That kid is talented. Very talented, big kid. And just that's someone that Southern Choctaw's going to have to watch out for in terms of the run game because, like I said, it takes 6 kids to bring him down. And even then, he had 6 kids holding on to him, and he's like, yeah, bye, kid. Get off. Excuse me. Like swatting them away like mosquitoes. Like he had such a good game this past Friday night. But, yeah, I mean, McIntosh, this is the thing. They performed well early in that game, and then it just kind of, when the wheels fell off, it was just like they lost that confidence, and that was something they couldn't get back, and then Maplesville walked away with that win. Do you know what the final score was in that one?
It was
it was like 40 something.
I just had it pulled up. Yeah, it was 48-0.
48-0. So McIntosh wasn't even able to get a point on the board. Now Maplesville has the number 5 offense in the state in 1A. They have the number 1 defense in the state in 1A. And before we went into that game, they were only like their average allowing points per game was like 2.5.
Yeah.
And then they held McIntosh to a shutout. So I'm sure I don't know if that would,
right. Yeah, that's
like mathematically it probably makes that average of how many points.
Now it is 2.3.
They're only allowing an average of 2.3 points per game. So Southern Choctaw got a really tough one against Maplesville. Yep. But yeah, I've seen it for myself. I've seen how Maplesville plays, and if this is the thing, is that their fans also travel. I knew it.
Always hitting the mic.
I almost made it all the way through without fighting the mic. Maplesville's fans travel extremely well because when we were there for Big Friday Kickoff last week, I mean, it was like 5:30 and the stands were already full for Maplesville's team. And so if they travel that well, with it being a 3-hour drive, I can only imagine what a home game at Maplesville is going to look like. So that's definitely going to have to be something to keep an eye on. Something I also didn't know, and I found out last week, is that former T.R. Miller head coach Brent Hubbard he's at Maplesville now. That's where he is from originally.
Yep.
And he said that his wife wanted to go back home, so he took her back home. His son is number 3 on Maplesville's team. Eli. And he had a really nice play in that game in the first half. Caught a touchdown. So shout out to him. We're pulling for Southern Choctaw, obviously, but it's always cool to get to catch up with a former coach that had a ton of success at T.R. Miller.
Sure.
I think he's a Hall of Fame. He is a Hall of Fame coach, but he's at Maplesville now, so he is decided to take his talents to across enemy lines. So. What?
Okay.
What?
That was good. No, I like that.
I hate when you do that to me. I feel good about it. You look at me like I got 3 heads.
No. It's just, I thought something was coming after it, so I was giving you runway, and then
you look like you needed to say something.
No. I mean, I've got stuff I could say, but I was gonna let you finish. I thought there was like another part to it. So.
Well, you were looking like you had something to say.
I'm sorry.
So I was just like, okay, well, let me not talk so much, because once I get going, it's hard to stop. I'm like a plane on the runway. You really gotta slow me down. I'm like the Amtrak.
Right.
I'm like the Amtrak. Anyways, okay. So I'm sure you've got some good stats that you want to share with me on this one.
Listen, Southern Choctaw. This is one of my teams. All right, it is Southern Choctaw. It is W.S. Neal. It is Cottage Hill. Those are my guys this year. Southern Choctaw. Let's go take care of business, all right? I don't care what Maplesville did against McIntosh. I don't care how good they've looked this year. They can take their 2.3 points and take it back up to Maplesville with them, all right? Because that's what's going to happen in this game, all right? Ray Bender, he has been absolutely killing it for Southern Choctaw. Kyler Nicholson, Christopher Bush, all these guys, they're running the crap out of the ball, over 300 yards in their first 2 games. This team is hot. They play a weird offense that I like to watch. All right, it is a lot of like pitching, wishbone, like, end around sweeps. Like they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And Larry Boykin, he has won state championships at Southern Choctaw. He knows how to win in the playoffs. I think this may be the Cinderella team right here. I mean, they only lost to Leroy 28-12. Probably I think that was the closest game Leroy's had all year. So yeah, give me Southern Choctaw this week. All right, I'm rocking with them. All right, I think they get this upset, and I think we have a 1A rematch in the next round.
All right. Tell me how you really feel.
That's how I really feel.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, before we wrap up, I just want to talk about just this season as a whole and the team that we have and how grateful we are for them. Because I think, like last week, just getting all the highlights in on time, the shot sheets, the people that stayed late to help us make sure that the show got on and that we had what we needed. There's so many people behind the scenes that help make this show so great. You, in particular, put a lot of time and work and effort and late nights and early mornings into this show. And this is year 3 we've been doing this now. And I just think that it's grown so much. And what we get to do when we get to go out and highlight high school kids on a Friday night, I think is so special and it's so important. And I'm, someone that has always been such a big college football fan. And of course I still am, but high school football down here has opened my eyes to the possibilities of so many things. And we're so lucky that we get to do this. I mean, you and I get to sit here and talk about all these extremely talented teams that we get to cover every week. And I just think that especially this time of year, it's just such a special season. But we do have such an amazing group of people on our team that help make this show what it is. It's not just you and me. I mean, there's so many people behind the scenes, especially on Friday nights. Like Hayden is one of them. He's our photographer that's out on the set with us that does such a good job. And then Nick, being by my side, and Dacian and Hal and everything they do to put together a great highlight package for Friday nights. And then David directing and also editing. And it really does get crazy here on Friday nights because I'm always coming in from shooting a game after being out there from 3 to 6 every day. And then you and I doing the halftime show and just all the different moving parts that people don't get to see. It wouldn't be right not to give a shout out to you guys that are behind the scenes that you don't get the recognition all the time. So just something I wanted to put out there before we wrap up tonight.
Well, listen, it's easy to do when you got the best sports director in the Southeast right here.
Oh my God,
leading the charge. Okay, like this is her thing. I mean, I think we both came up with the idea of Big Friday Kickoff, but it's you that goes out there and meets with the other end of the hall and has to go out there live and do all your stuff. So your work ethic it helps everyone else bust their butt, not just because we care, but it's like, well, if she's doing it, then we got to too. So, yeah, and look, we don't have to give any details right now, but this podcast will not be over when football's over, okay? We're going to keep this going. It's going to be different. It'll be something not as football-centric, right? We have other sports in the area. That's all I'll say.
That deserve just as much love.
Yes.
And we get to shout, girls, too, because I think that's so important. I want girls in sports to get, more recognition. Football season is just so tough because it's all football. But and it's not. We're not going to get away from the football. It's just going to be, Big Friday Kickoff, the off season, you know what I mean? Because there is so many things happening. Here we go again. There are so many things happening during the off season. I mean, you have coaching changes and kids are transferring, and then you also have kids that are going through the recruitment process, and you get to find out, where they're going to be taking their talents next, who's going on visits, and all kinds of things. So we're definitely still going to be talking about football, but we're also going to expand and talk about other sports too, which I think is really special.
And we've got some awards, some end of season award stuff that we're working on right now. Maybe we'll Maybe we'll debut those on the podcast or something. I
think that would be great.
We could get creative. But anyway, it's that time of the year where, every single one of our teams could lose this week, and
not going to happen.
We'd be done. Now, that's probably not going to happen.
No.
But, you may hear this a similar version of this speech the next couple weeks because at any point, football could be done for us down here. So, it's been a blast, and it's always it's always bittersweet getting to the end here. So
you just can't ever take it for granted because you never know when the last week's going to be the last week. Like you said, every one of our teams could. We're fighting now. That's how you know we're getting to the end. But I just want to wrap up also by saying, and I know it came out today, and I know there's going to be a press conference tomorrow, because speaking of don't take it for granted, you never know when the last game's going to be the last game, and how special high school football is. I couldn't wrap up this podcast without giving a shout out to Theodore head coach Steve Mask. He is retiring. And so we saw that news come out today from Ben Thomas, but I spoke to Coach Mask earlier this week, and he is going to be having a press conference on Thursday, and we're going to get to hear from him. Had such a good season at Theodore this year. He's had a good run at Theodore. This was his third season, I think, at Theodore. So just in the time that he's been there, what he's done, had a lot of success. A Hall of Fame head coach, won 4 state titles at St. Paul's. I mean, whenever he gave me the call, I was like, please don't tell me that this is the I'm retiring phone call.
Sure.
And he was like, okay, well, I'll lie to you. It's not the retirement phone call. I was like, no, Coach, no.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think we had a feeling, that were there at Media Days at the beginning of the season, him talking about, he also said his words, don't take these moments for granted. It is so special what we get to do, within high school football. And I know this is hard for him. I know it wasn't an easy decision, but also, I mean, seeing Terry Curtis retire last season, and more of these coaches that have been in this business for such a long time are deciding to hang up their clipboard and their whistle. So we hate to see that.
Sure.
But they've paved the way for these younger coaches that are coming in and having so much success. So shout out to Steve Mask. We'll have more from his press conference tomorrow morning and what he has to say and what's next for him. Is it retirement? Will he go on and maybe coach somewhere else?
Sure.
You just never know.
Yep.
You just never know. So, quarterfinal time. A lot of good action coming your way. Game of the week. Let's just game of the week is going to be W.S. Neal at Jackson. Dacian Smith will be out there at that one. We have no Hustlin' Hal Sherrick this week. It is his birthday.
Yes, happy birthday,
Happy birthday, Hustlin' Hal. We love you so much. Enjoy your week off. And then we have Hayden's going to be out shooting a game. I think Randy Lowe is actually going to shoot the St. Michael game for us because his sons go to St. Michael, so he said he would shoot that one. Plans are always subject to change, so you never know. But and then Big Friday Kickoff out at Vire, super fired up to go out there. We always have a blast. The band, the cheerleaders. We're going to at least maybe have 2 to 3 players joining us on the set for live interviews. Head coach Renardo Jackson going to join us at 5 o'clock. Tailgate weather, band of the week, all the good stuff. This very well could be our last episode of Big Friday Kickoff. It really all depends on what our 9 teams do this week.
We should still have highlights after this week.
Yes.
We just may not have the live
show
from a stadium or anything like that after this week. So.
Yeah, because college football is really, really ramping up as we head into the last games of the regular season, and then they're going to get into their postseason. So we're having to, fight for airtime with them, which we get. We understand. It's business. But so, make sure you have your push notifications turned on because we will be streaming. We'll be coming on probably between 10 and 10:30 on Friday. If you have those push notifications turned on, you'll know exactly when we're going live and where to tune in. And then if you miss it, it's always up on our website. Robert does such a good job with all our digital stuff, making sure that it's up on Facebook and fox10tv.com and all the places. So if you miss it, he'll make sure you can see it.
You will see it.
You will definitely see it. So quarterfinal time. We are so excited for it. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Big Friday Kickoff podcast. I'm Emily Cochran. He's Robert Ristaneo, and we will see y'all on Friday.